Okay, this week you are going to be writing essay number 3, which is an argument essay. Now, essay number 2 was kind of an argument essay as well, but it was not as complex as the essay number 3. Now, what is the difference? We're going to look at both sides of the argument for essay 3. Now, before that, let's just review what is an argument essay. Argument is when you take a stand and you are for something or you're against. And usually you take a stand on a controversial issue where there are two sides of the argument. And your job is to attempt to convince the readers that your position is the right one and they should support that. And in other words, you present sound arguments. Now, how to be an effective arguer? You keep an open mind until you have looked closely at all the different sides of the issue. That is, don't present your arguments as if your evidence completely resolves the issue. Now, how do you develop an effective argument? In Greek philosophy, they used 3 elements: logos, pathos, and ethos. Logos is arguing logically, that is, you take support from logic, and which would be statistics, examples, facts, research. Pathos is when you appeal to the reader's emotions, values, their social attitudes, their psychological needs, etc. Those things matter too. And ethos is how credible is your source, how credible is your argument, can the readers trust what you say? Now, facts and statistics offer irrefutable evidence. What does that mean? In other words, you can't deny facts and statistics. They're already there. They've already been established. And of course, one thing you have to remember, when you use statistics, you need to make proper inferences from those facts, from those statistics that really support your argument. In other words, make sure these inferences are reasonable. You can also use nameless authorities or even research or well-known authorities. And these you can rely on from the books you have read, the articles you have read. And whatever you use from these sources, make sure that they relate to your argument. You can also include personal observations because they're as valid as somebody said something, but you experienced something. That's actually even better because you are the person who experienced it or witnessed something, so you can use it in relation to your other supporting evidence. Now, here you need to keep in mind what the opponent's arguments would be. What would the other side say about it? If you support a particular issue, what would the people who don't support say? In other words, you have to assess the strengths and weaknesses of the opposing arguments. Now, when you evaluate a writer's argument, in other words, you're reading an article like Father Fixation or Fatherless America, first you have to figure out which side of the coin is the writer on. Is it supporting it or is she against it? And what is the gist of the person's argument? What evidence do they use to support their argument? And of course, are the facts accurate? Can we rely on them? Can we accept them? And is there enough evidence? And it's all based on reliable source, that they're all trustworthy. Can we accept it? And this would also help you to summarize the arguments of these writers, as well as when you write your own essays, you can use the same questions to evaluate your essay. Now, how do you organize this argument essay? Just like any other essay, you're going to have a well-developed introduction, beginning with something general, moving on to something specific, but the thesis statement has to clearly explain your stand. In other words, it has to indicate what is your position. And in the body paragraphs, first you could summarize the opposing point of view. And then you can, in the first subsequent paragraphs, in each one, you present, you could present the opposing point of view and your counter argument. Or you could simply give your point of view and then relate it and say, how does it counter argue one of the opposing points of view? This is what you will be doing in each of the body paragraphs. And in conclusion, you come back and reiterate your position, your arguments, and you also leave, the platform with a balanced approach. Okay, we have to look at both sides of the coin, and this is what seems to be the best approach. So when you read and do the assignments this week, there's also another way of organizing it, just a little bit different, but it's pretty much the same. In the body paragraphs, you can first present your point, and it can show how it differs from the opposing point of view. But pretty much otherwise, everything else is the same. So when you do your own essays, keep this in mind.